I always like to start backwards. So we're going to start with Victoria. And my first question is, what's your favorite scary movie? And if you don't have a favorite scary movie, do you have a favorite scary movie villain that you like or hero?
For sure. So, hi, new faces. It's really nice to meet you. I'm Victoria. Pronouns are she, there, and I'm glad to have you here. Um, my favorite scary movie villain, I have a couple. So I like Ghostface from Scream because I feel like there was a lot of like breaking the fourth wall in that movie that happened that was just like new to horror. That was like a whole new thing in general. But I honestly like getting back from camp and like reading this book with this like camp in it, and I've just read like more camp horror stuff recently too. Camp horror is like one of my favorite genres. So Friday the 13th anything um is definitely my thing, even though my cousin used to like literally terrify me by making the like noise like honestly. But yeah, I realized as I was reading this I can not get enough. Like you give me like some sort of haunted camp or weirdo camp, I'm there. So that's
I
mine.
love that. I love that. Getting married on Friday the 13th. 13th is always been my lucky day. And it's always been my favorite number. And so everybody was like, that's like a bad number. And it's like, well, it works for me. So I kind of always been drawn into that franchise as well. Um, Urania, did I say it right? You'll have to keep reminding me. Uh-oh, I think you're still muted. I'm sorry. This is going to take a moment to get used to. Uh-oh,
Okay,
oh
I
no.
think I figured out how to do
Oh,
it. Did I unmute myself?
you muted yourself, but there you go. Now
There you
you're
go.
all
Okay.
good.
Okay, I'm doing this on my phone because I don't have the stuff set up on my computer yet.
That's okay.
But my name is Urania. You can call me Udi. It's a lot easier.
Oh, what is where's the name's etiology from? Is it like a certain nationality? Is it just something your parents
Yeah,
like?
it's from Greece. It's a flower in Greece.
Beautiful. Okay, okay. So
Thank
do
you.
you have a favorite scary movie villain or a favorite hero? Or just a
I
favorite
kind of like
scary
them
movie?
all, to be honest. But Jason is definitely one of my favorites. um, just because I do like the whole, hatchet chasing everybody down. And then I just remember me and my brother watching Freddy versus Jason, and then just the whole like sleeping bag scene where they're just smacking them together, and it was just I love that.
It is really weird the nostalgia feeling that you get from these guys. It's like it's it should be scary, it should be disturbing, but it's
Yeah,
kind of like, oh, there's like part of my childhood.
but yeah, I definitely like um the face mask guy too. Scream from Scream, that
Go say
definitely paved the way. Get Ghostface, yeah, definitely paved the way for horror in the early 2000s, late 90s. And
very
that's
cool.
like my generation too. So
Yeah, I think they were the first bad boys I ever had a crush on.
yes, oh my gosh,
It's
I
like,
completely agree.
yeah, even after finding out like there were the killers, but I was like, I still kind of find them hot. That's a little disturbing, but I
Yeah,
still do.
Matthew Lillard is so handsome still to this
So,
day.
yeah, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely agree. How about you, Jessica? Did you, or no, it would be Kristen. Kristen, did you? You're my favorite, Jessica. I'm always going to call on you first. It's the way we're going to have to accept. Kristen, did you have a favorite, or you kind of vibed and told me you're not really a scary movie kind of person?
I am not a scary movie kind of person because my family liked to show me lots of scary movies when I was growing up. So I was like 5 years old when I saw the one movie, I don't know what it was, where they were putting a chainsaw in some guy's head. Um, I was terrified of people under the stairs because I thought for sure that people would come out from under the stairs from my grandma's basement. So no, I do not like scary movies. I've seen Scream, but they're just not my, yeah, they're just not my
Right.
forte now.
That's a thing. So anybody who doesn't, typically, I would say 90% of the time, anybody that tells me that they don't like scary movies had some type of traumatic scary movie thing when they were little, when they shouldn't have been seeing it. So that's interesting. Thank you for sharing, even though, that's not your, I mean, that might be a little bit of why you're like, what? is this? Like, you know? Okay. And then now it's your turn, Jessica. Do you have a fave? Do you like it? Are you like a horror fan?
I am. I love horror. I love old school horror, camp horror. I was a camp counselor, so that's a huge favorite. But I have an obsession with Matthew Lillard. Um, and so my all-time favorite is 13 Ghosts. I love the whole mechanics of that. I love it better than the original. Um, so I really love that one. And I'm one of those people that I had a traumatic experience like as a kid with horror movies. I saw Poltergeist way too early.
Yeah.
Have a huge problem with the movie and do not like clowns still, but I didn't take it out on the whole genre.
So I had the same thing with the guy with the hat. The man in the movie with the hat, he creeps me out, and I thought way too early too. I think I made him like 5 or 6. We must be around the same that same early time, but I continue to like them. I just can't watch anything with Poltergeist. But that freaks me out. The rest of them I'm okay with. And now it is Jameson's turn.
I think I absolutely am a Halloween fan. Michael Myers is my absolute favorite. I have had to explain that timeline to so many people, like, no, you have to watch it in this order. No, you have to pretend these don't exist. And you but like Jamie Lee Curtis and the whole thing it is my favorite. I also am a huge Texas Chainsaw Massacre fan. It's just different ends of the spectrum for me, I guess. But Michael is absolutely my favorite.
I feel like I would love to pick apart his brain more. I like the psychological aspect of him. I'm really drawn to that. Like when they show his psychiatrist and stuff, I'm always like, oh, please, pick more of this out. I want to know more. But he's definitely not my favorite are the Saw movies and like the whole Saw franchise. But I forgot about 13 Ghosts. That is a good one. That's even like, yeah, that's top tier. How about you, Erin?
So I am a pretty big horror fan, but I've watched them, I think probably most all of them, but I don't like slasher films very much. It's because I don't really like the gore and the blood. It like makes me sick. But I do really like supernatural horror. My favorite though that I've watched since I can remember since it first came out was a TV show, Buffy. It's not really horror, it's more drama, but I absolutely love Buffy. So I guess my favorite villain would be Spike,
Yes,
my first bad boy crush.
yes. I loved him way more than Angel. So
Yes, me too.
yeah,
I had a
he-
friend who was absolutely obsessed with him. Like, I actually think she is still obsessed with him.
Probably. I wouldn't blame her.
I actually went to a Horror Hound convention and got to meet him. He was signing Buffy comics. So yeah, totally.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, he was really cool. Really, really cool. Um, so we kind of went over the next question, which was, are you kind of into the cult classic, like the slasher genre? Do you know about it? And then what it would be for you if you didn't, how bizarre the book would be, since there are so many references. In fact, I feel like when she has her 101s, when she's like writing this out, she sounds like Randy from Scream 2. Like she's giving you the lessons of like this can happen and this won't happen and we have to have the first blood victim. And I'm like, what is this reminding me of? I'm having some type of like flashback. I'm like, oh my gosh, these are the rules from Scream. So I wondered if you hadn't seen that, how it'd make you feel. So we're gonna start this time with Erin. And I thought this was my most curious question is, how do you feel about Jake? And I think it's either Jennifer, is it Jennifer Daniels is her real name? And do you understand her? Do you have any empathy towards her? Are you curious about her? Like, what is your vibe on
I feel like she thinks she knows who she is, but she does have a little bit of an identity crisis because she's like so committed to being this like, tough girl. I like these horror movies. I like, I like to be different. But then there's a part of the story where she's like, I wonder if I would be the final girl if I were raised differently. So I think maybe she wants to be that, but she takes on this like persona of being so tough and, you know, different. So
Mhm.
she doesn't have to like reflect on the feelings of, who she wants to be, but she's not. Um, I don't know. I really like her. She's different, definitely different. I'm not sure that I would wear like overalls and a mask and like hide outside someone's party, but I feel like she wants to be included and she's not. So that's the way that she deals with it. That's how I feel so far. And I kind of think that even though she is, um, like so against like herself being a final girl, I think maybe she secretly might be. I know she wants Letha, is that her name?
Mhm.
She wants her to be the final girl, but I'm not quite sure because there was even a point where she's like, no, final girls aren't curious. Don't go out there and get that body, but we'll see, I suppose.
We're already starting your famous predictions. I'm excited to see. I'm really curious. How about you, Jameson? Is she somebody that you would befriend? Is that somebody that you kind of understand maybe where she's coming from since you also love horror and you kind of pick the book and like, is there a relation there? Or are you kind of, you know,
I think that I like her for a lot of reasons. I think we would be friends. I think we would talk about horror movies forever and ever. But I have this tendency to, when I was a kid, and I still do it, to like rescue the misfits and the outcasts and if you listen to her carefully, like I feel like the reason that she likes the slasher films as opposed to like other genres of horror, and it's probably the same reason I do, is that usually it starts out as somebody's not completely unjustified in what they're doing. Like she feels bad for the slasher. Like she feels bad. Like these people have wronged him. And yeah, you're upset. And that's justifiable. But then at some point she's like, okay, but then it gets out of hand. And then the final girl has to stop it. And I think that she identifies with the misfits, but I think she secretly wants to be the final girl, and she's just sad she didn't. She feels like she didn't get that chance.
interesting, very interesting. How about you, Jessica?
So I feel like she's a compilation of people I was friends with in high school. I was one of the weirdos. Um, I get where she's coming from. I totally agree with Jameson, as to like her obsession with horror. It is because it does start generally as justifiable. And also I feel like there's like a predictability to it. Like you know what to expect. Someone was wronged, they're going to pay, it's gonna get out of hand, final girl, cut scene, we're good. So I'm curious to see where she goes. I'm curious to see what her role is, because is she the slasher? Is she the final girl? What role is she in this? That's what's really interesting to me right now.
Oh, that's a really good hmm. Yeah, I didn't think of her. Look at me getting closer because I'm getting into it. I'm sorry. But I didn't think about her being Asher. However, she's been wounded and stuff like Jameson was saying. So it is a possibility, and that's enlightening. How about you, Kristen? I know you've only made it so far. I'm wondering if it's because you're lacking connection. I think somebody had mentioned, and I it might not have been you, it may have been Jessica, that you thought maybe she was mentally ill.
Yeah, I think Jessica had said that. Maybe that at first. And I thought that. I mean, I said I'm a smart person, but I thought for sure like I was really stupid for a while because I just could not figure out what she was talking about and what she was doing and where it was going. And what's really sad is that the very first part of it, like when they're out on the like the boat and that whole part, that I was into it until I got to Jade. And then I was like, in that whole part, so I was into the beginning part, like trying to figure out like about this, like, is it gonna be a swamp monster, but whatever. I was into like that camp part, but then when I got to Jade, I was like, no, I just do not connect with what all she's trying to what is going through her head. I just don't.
Mhm. That's understandable. So when, you know, my wife's been partaking like outside of the group, but she's just not good with coming to a weekly meeting or whatever, and she doesn't watch horror at all. She just can't. But she can't even watch Final Destination. Anyway, she was like looking at the book and she's like, I don't understand any of the references, like the pop culture stuff. She's like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get it, you know, type of thing. So you're not alone in it, you know, just so you know. Yeah. And I also as somebody who is on the spectrum, I have to wonder, and not, I mean, clearly she struggles mentally because she's, you know, attempted suicide. However, with the obsession and the comfort that she feels and the rumination that she goes over in her head in this like tiny box, it makes me wonder if she's on the spectrum in some place. Because for me, I find these obsessions and there's some type of like happiness in those little boxes for me. And horror's been one of those for me since I've been young. So I'm wondering what else we'll find out about her and if we'll get any information about where she stayed and got some treatment. And then so we're gonna go with Uwe. Uwe, is that right? Yes, I hope so.
Yes,
Please.
that is
Yeah,
correct.
Uwe. I like that. It's really cute. What about
Thank
you? Do
you.
you like her?
I do. I definitely relate to her. I was always the weird one in school. And yeah, so I definitely relate to that aspect of it, especially like with the suicide and the and going through all of that. And definitely relate to her on the whole aspect of, you know, I could have been like this if I was raised this way because I am myself adopted. So if I was raised with my birth family, how would I have turned out, you know? So I relate to her on that aspect. But yes, Kristen, I definitely understand why you got confused because started off with this couple, and I was totally into that too. I was like, okay, cool. But it also sets the precedent for when she finds the phone because she did record it, you know, and so that's the next clue for her, like, oh shit, my theory is starting to make sense. Like all these ramblings in my head are making sense. You know, I'm not crazy. I am, you know, seeing things happening. And I do think that because of the history of the lake and the camp, she is seeing a pattern. And because she watches all these slashers and is a horror nerd, she can recognize the pattern. And I think that's going to help her help the final girl be the final girl, possibly. You know, that's kind of my theory. She's going to use, because that's what she mentioned, you know, like, I can't be the final girl. I don't know if anybody caught this, but she kind of saying, like, you know, the final girl's a vert. And then it, like, you know, tapered off and she went into a different thing. So maybe something happened in her childhood that made her not a virgin and she can't be the final girl. And then the whole thing with her dad being an alcoholic and then the way his friend like hits on her, the whole family thing, it's definitely giving you her background and where she's coming from. And I definitely think she could be on the spectrum because I do have a friend that gets like that on certain things and we call him the rambling man.
Yeah. So
So I think so.
yeah, I'm more like her. I keep it to myself most of the time.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Because they're gonna think you're fucking crazy. That's why
yeah,
she doesn't, you know, try and tell people. Because if you cry wolf too many times, they're not gonna believe you.
yeah.
So
And I think
that's where I'm at.
I wholeheartedly agree with you. And I think we had to have that beginning chapter. And I was into it too. And then it switched gears, and I'm just like, oh no, I'm lost again. Here we go. But I think we had to have that because she keeps questioning her reality. she keeps saying, is this really happening? So we have to have that beginning part. How about you, Victoria? Did you feel a kinship to her, any kind of like connection? Was it easier for you to hear her point of view?
So yeah, I will say that I also uh didn't get as far as I would have liked to have gotten myself. I am probably right around where Kristen is. And I had a really hard time actually. Like I had to read this for the chapter about like her meeting these guys at the dumpster bucket fire a couple of times because by the time it ended, I was like, what the fuck just happened? Like, how did we get here? Like,
Yeah, I couldn't tell if that was reality or not either.
truly. And I think that I definitely as much as it was hard for me to get into her as a narrator, I kind of definitely relate. I'm on the spectrum as well. I'm autistic as they come. And her brain sounds very much like a special interest, like obsession. But it's like there's also this like it feels like she uses it to be relatable almost. She uses her like unrelatability to be relatable to other people. I think that she could end up being a final girl. I don't know there. I was also curious about the comment about not pure, you know what I mean, or not a virgin. I'm just like, wait a minute, like what's going on here? But at the same time, with the alcoholic dad that's like obviously will let people just like make awful comments in front of his daughter or allusions in front of his daughter, um it tells me that like you know what I mean, she's probably got a lot to run from and a lot to like escape and a lot to like a lot of energy to funnel into something else that's not, you know, that situation at home. And I feel like the horror stuff is obviously that for her. And so yeah, I feel kinship just in, you know, special interests, like living in special interest land to try to like escape from reality and like escape from like all the bullshit going on at home. But it definitely took me a while to get me like to get into her narration style because yeah, I was like definitely on board with a couple people. I'm just like, okay, this is gonna be a thing, we'll figure it out. But yeah, and then with the phone, I think it'll be interesting to see what happens with the phone. Because I'm not quite, you know what I mean, there. She's gotten the phone back and you know what I mean, like what is this phone? So I think obviously lots is gonna come out of that. But yeah, I think she's unrelatable but also relatable and like I feel so kindred with that like the weird kid feeling that she definitely throws off. It's a very well written weird kid, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. For me personally, so I had trouble getting into the first two chapters, and then I told a couple people would message me. I'm like, I'm skipping forward, and then I'll go back. So I need to get into it, and then I'll go back. Well, once I got into it, I was into it, like really into it. So the major thing that I think that really pulled me in, is there's so many layers to her. So we know the mom has been just some type of abandonment with the mom. I'm wondering if there's some type of poverty because she works as a custodial person while she's in high school. The dad is abusive. The dad's friend is like sexually like advancing towards her these really inappropriate things. She's violent, which at that age indicates some type of trauma. So once I got into, oh no, some bad things have happened here, I need to know what they are, that's when I became invested. And then the more she goes on with her slasher theories and things like that, I'm able to kind of like build her character more, like relate it back to her mental health in a way. It's where I'm trying to like go with it. Um, so we'll start back with you, Victoria. Um, so we kind of covered this a little bit with because you haven't gone very far. Do you have any other characters that you're curious about or that you were drawn to besides her? Is there anybody that you're intrigued about now?
Yeah, so I'm definitely interested to see about like this like this pair of kids with the interesting last name. What was the last name? Mondragon. I feel like the Mondragons, Lena, Theo, etc. Like there's something about them that feels icky to me. And I don't know if I'm right or wrong yet, because like I said, I'm not too far, but they definitely feel sorry, Letha, not Lena. They feel like yeah, there'll be more around them, I feel like. Um
Mhm.
and I also am like really curious about if these like three guys that she encountered, like do they come back into the story at all? And also like I have to think as like a grown man, like how weird that would have been to like have this kid just like kind of like sidle up to you in the dark and like reading back. Like when I read it again, I was like, they're obviously uncomfortable and they're like, okay, let's get you home. Let's get you, you know what I mean? Like we don't like it took me a minute to like realize that even they were like handling her with kid gloves in a way. So yeah, I also wonder about like them and like if she encounters them again. So
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, and then, so Uwe, do you have anybody that you're interested in? Have you completed it up to page 110, by the way?
Yeah, I have.
Okay. And so, so
Um,
you have more dynamic characters. Do you
yes,
have anybody that you're more drawn to, or a couple?
I'm actually, yeah, there's definitely a couple. Definitely the construction guy because he did show up to her graduation. I think they called him Shiny Glasses or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely want to see where that goes because she, you know, he found her, he's checking up on her. Definitely I think is it the deputy or the sheriff or whatever,
Hmm.
Hardy, I think his name is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I am I want to see how his character kind of develops as well because knowing his background, I kind of don't want to spoil it. But yeah, knowing his background and what happened to him and his family and how he looks out for the town, I want to see if possibly is he going to be one of the first ones to die because he's that character, you know? And
Hmm.
he is a strong role in her life because he is looking out after her. You know, he's the one that found her in the canoe, and he's just like, not on my watch, you know. So I really want to see how that goes. I like that.
Very, very interesting. Oh, I think Stephanie wants that. Hold on one second. I'm gonna admit her. Hi, Stephanie.
Oh, I'm trying to. Oh,
Hi
hi.
there. It's so good to see you. You made it home safe.
Yep.
Good. I'm so glad. Well, welcome. We just finished. I'm going to introduce you. So we have our newest member, our rookie member tonight, and so she's going by Uwe, but it's Urania. Urania. Victoria said it beautifully. It like rolled off her tongue like you knew exactly how to say it. But she's new and she's here to join us. And we've gone over just a few things, and we'll circle back and I'll get your opinion on the questions I've asked. And I'm going to go on to Kristen. Um, do you have any characters that you're intrigued about? I know you liked the first.
No, I do not. I'm struggling so much.
Funny. What about the first two characters that you were kind of like into?
Well, I just thought they were dumb. Like they. I just thought they were dumb. So, and I know they're not going to come back. Well, in theory, I don't. I guess I don't really know they're not going to come back, but it seems pretty clear that that they're dead. But I don't know. Maybe they'll come back. Or maybe they really didn't die. I have no idea.
Yeah,
But they were really stupid. They were just dumb. So
it's so funny to hear everybody's input because I have like a list. But I myself am strange and unusual. So, admittingly so. Okay. So that would take us to Jessica. Do you have anybody that you want to get to know more about, or you're really curious about, or that you've been drawn to?
Um, I feel like I kind of just agree with everyone, although I have maybe a little bit more broad interest just in general with all the people at Terra Nova because there's something there and it's not right. And I want to know what it is. I'm just kind of curious in general how several things are going to play out and what they're going to have to do with the outcome. So
Yeah, definitely. There's something definitely there. How about you, Jameson?
I think I want to know more about her history teacher. Um, I don't know. I don't think we know enough yet, but like I get this feeling like if he were the slasher, if there ends up being one, like that he fits that criteria, like he's protecting the land from these people. Um, and I feel like I want to know more about her mom. Like I want to know what would make a mother leave their child. Like, is it that she's native and her dad is native, so she left her like with her people, or is it something else? Like I'm gonna need an explanation as to why a mother would leave her child in that situation.
Like, I thought she was like totally AWOL until the graduation, and I'm like, oh, the mom's in the town? Like, what in the heck? Like, something's not vibing here. So yeah, I agree. The mom was definitely one that stood out for me. How about you, Aaron?
Yeah, I'm curious about the mom too, but I don't know. I kind of like loved the part where she like sticks it to her mom by stealing things from the Dollar General. Like I thought that was so funny. I was like, yeah, take that stuff. Make your mom pay for it. Um, but anyway, yeah, I'm curious about the sheriff. I'm curious about all the Terra Nova people. I'm also curious about Rexall. That's what they call him, right? Because he sold those drugs. I feel like he's gross and nasty, but I feel like he redeems himself. I mean, that's like my theory that he's gonna redeem himself, maybe and like help her out in some way. He has to be more of a character because she keeps mentioning him, I feel. So I don't know. We'll
That's nice.
see. Sometimes that happens. I mean, the people that you think are going to be like terrible, like end up redeeming themselves, but I don't know. So yeah, I'm definitely. Oh, and shooter glasses. Yeah, I'm curious about him. It also did. I can't remember who mentioned it, but they thought maybe like she had some sort of like sexual trauma in her childhood. It. I'm curious about that because that also made me think like he's clearly an adult. The way that he was like Victoria said, handling her with kid gloves because they were uncomfortable. Like, what's this girl doing here? And then she even like stops to think like maybe he likes me, but like doesn't finish that thought. Remember when she was thinking that? So that also made me think like, why would she be wondering if like a grown man? I mean, I know she's 17 already, but I felt like that was kind of strange. So we'll see.
I also wondered, like, do these people see her as their equal? Because including the dad's friend Rexall,
Yeah.
um, because she's a custodian person and so is he. I kind of
Mhm.
thought like maybe she seems older to them because of that. Like she's got a full-blown job there, in the same way that they do. I'm not sure the lines are very blurred. I get real bad vibes from him. I almost wonder, like, did he have an affair with the mom? Did he abuse her? Why is the dad? I'm not. I don't know, but I'm usually dead wrong on people. So if they're the good guy, I'm don't want nothing to do with them. If they're the bad people, I'm like, come to me, moth to the flame. I don't know why, but we'll circle back to that. Stephanie, the questions that I asked was, what's your favorite scary movie, and do you have a favorite scary movie villain or hero?
So I'm not big into scary movies, to be honest. Because I watched Friday or Nightmare on Elm Street when I was younger, and that just scared the living bejesus out of me. But I have watched like Hostel. I like the Saw movies. I don't know why. I don't even like gore, but I just like the cinematic value, I guess, that there is. All the angles and all of that, and the premise of it is pretty interesting to me.
Very cool. Um, and then what do you think of Jade so far?
Think of Jade. I mean, I think there's more. I think she's gonna end up being the final girl, even though she keeps saying she's not the final girl and Letha is the final girl. I think she's gonna end up being the final girl.
Really, that's interesting. See, I don't know because you know how she has these slasher rules, right? And so does oh, what's his name? Oh, I always forget it. The guy from Scream. Um, there has to be a blood sacrifice. I'm wondering if her slitting her wrist was the blood sacrifice. So I don't know. I don't know. But that is a good theory. If I had to predict, she dies. Doesn't fight hard enough to stay alive. So unless somebody miraculous saves her, I think she dies. We'll see. I'm most curious about the history teacher, Mr. Holmes. He goes on to weird, bizarre tangents about the town. It's like he knows about these new rich people. He knows bad things about the principal. He's got secrets. I want to pick his brain. Just wanted to make sure I told you guys that. And then the last question would be, do you understand like the genres that she is implying to when she talks about the scary movies and stuff? Like, do you get that sort of stuff when she's talking about it? Do you have a history of watching those kind of films? For Stephanie.
Sorry, I was trying to get it. So I do know what she's talking about because I have watched, Scream. I've watched some of the Jason Voorhees movies. Good
Mhm.
Lord, why I'm blanking right now. But
It's okay.
so those I have watched them, but so I know what she's talking about somewhat. But some of the movies she mentions are obscure to me.
Yeah, yeah. If you were the first person that I talked to who was like, I'm into this. Like I'm vibing it, I'm here for it, you know. Meanwhile, everybody else is texting me like, what the heck is going on? So I thought it was really cool that you were, you picked up to it right away. Uwe, I totally agree. Raxel, why I don't know why I'm like not able to pronounce things for a while today, but he may have hidden cameras too, which is also super freaking creepy. No, man. Oh, yeah. Okay, so we will start. Is it Victoria? I'm gonna start back at Victoria. Okay. My next question is what are your favorite quotes? Or what is your prediction going forward?
Ooh.
Or both.
So I would say I don't have any favorite quotes so far. I actually like really enjoy the slasher 101 bits. If I like could pick bits, I would say like that's probably my favorite parts so far. Because I did read most of those because I was like I'm gonna at least get the bits that I'm gonna miss and I'm gonna read all of it because it was just a crazy week. But yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen. I honestly think she might end up having final girl status. I guess we'll see. That's my prediction is that she's gonna end up getting to have her final girl moment. Um, the one that she like didn't think that she was gonna have due to whatever. And we might learn about also whatever. I think that smoking glasses, um, I just feel some feelings about him. And then Rexall, he could get wrecked. Like I already hate him. So if he has a redemption arc, I guess we'll see. I don't see it right now because like I said in the chat, absolutely putrid vibes from him. Um yeah, I guess I'm just interested to see what happens. And now that I've got like I feel like a better framework after talking to y'all of like how she talks and how she thinks and how she would be written. I'm just excited to read more for sure.
Would you say that you are a final girl or a supporting character?
I think I don't have the lungs, I feel like, to be a final girl. Like asthmatics, historically, I would say not the sexy final girls. I would love to root for that, but I just like practically, I'm just thinking of like all of the running that a final girl does in general, like Jamie Lee Curtis in like just that's my case study. Just Jamie Lee Curtis, that's all I have to say. Um but yeah, I think I'm a supporting character, realistically. I'd love to be a final girl and like have that like, you know what I mean, like push off moment. And like I think in my own ways of like I've dealt with it in my own horrors in my own life, but yeah, luckily not with a slasher. So
I
I'll take
disagree.
that.
I think you're quite a fighter. I
Oh,
think
thank
you've been
you.
through a lot and you're still standing. And I think people who have challenges, especially health ones like asthma, know how to fight in difficult situations. And I think that you would be. But that's just my opinion. How about you, Stephanie? Do you have any favorite quotes? Do you have predictions? And would you be a final girl or supporting character?
So I don't think I have any favorite quotes. I like I said, I think Jade is gonna find out that she's more strong than she thinks she is. And I think something's gonna end up pulling her out of the suicidal ideations and things. I think something is gonna make her life feel worthwhile. I don't know if it has to do with shooting star or that shooting guy or what's going on. Somebody's gonna rescue her though, or even maybe Mr. Holmes. I'm excited to learn more about it. And minus my physical ailments, I think I could be a final girl because I don't give up.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. How about you, Uy? Would you be a final girl? Do you have any favorite quotes? Do you have a prediction on what you think is going to happen next?
No favorite quote so far. I mean, I guess the one where he's like, "Oh, it's Sven talking in very beginning when he's like taking fake photos of her, like cover up. This one's for the grand, or whatever." Yeah, I like that one, but that right there was like light bulb. They're dead. you know. My predictions so far from what I think, Jade could be a final girl, but I think she's gonna be the supporting character, definitely. Um, I think Letha might reject the final girl thing because Jade is making the Bible that she basically wrote for the teacher. So I think it's going to be the teacher because he's already got everything because she's already written all those papers and turned them in. They were for his class. So I'm thinking maybe he might have something to do with the slasher.
He's
And
also
that's kind of,
he's butt hurt too because they're forcing him
yes,
into retirement. Yeah.
exactly. They're forcing him into retirement. All these new people are moving into, his area. And I think that he might have something to do with that. And then as for me being a final girl, no, I think I'd be more like Jade. I'd probably be like the second to last to die. And I'd make sure that the final girl got there. But I do see some qualities of me being a final girl, but no, I'd like to die. Let's go. I'd like to help my friends survive.
So sweet. I'd be like, get out of my way. I'm gonna be the last one standing, like the little rage bear in me. So yeah, I'm one of those people that like pushing people down to get further ahead. Can't help myself. I have a very strong survival instinct. How about you, Kristen? Do you I know you didn't give it a do you have any
No quotes.
predictions? None.
I predict that I will finish this book at some point. I predict that I will make it through. I don't have any predictions about what's going to happen because I have no idea. And I think that I would probably be I'd probably be like a supporting role, but honestly, I would almost lean more towards the slasher. More than if I had to choose between those two, I'd probably choose the slasher over either one of the final. No, I want to be a supporting character, and I don't want to be the final role because that's just dumb. So I don't.
Okay.
That's just like damsel in distress. Like, no,
here.
I'm not doing that. No. So no, I probably wouldn't be the slasher.
Very cool. How about you, Jessica? Do you have any favorite quotes or predictions, or do you feel you'd be a final girl or supporting character, or now in the ring, the slasher?
So I do have a favorite quote. She says at one point, some people count sheep and some light matches under their enemies. I really like that. I would love to say that I count sheep, but I definitely have light matches under my enemies. And that leads into whether I could be a final girl or not. I have survival instinct, but I'm clumsy. I have the worst luck of any person I've ever met. And I'm also full of rage and would not qualify as a final girl because of my rage. As far as predictions, I feel like her being half Indian is going to be important because they really make a point of she and her dad are the only people of color until Letha gets there. So I feel like they're at Indian Lake. We've got someone who is half Indian and is being traumatized for it and, isolated. So that's what I think. I think it has to play in somewhere. Otherwise, why bother telling me?
Yes, I think so too. And if I remember correctly, when she goes and visits the old lady at the nursing home, I think it's the last one, the last chapter that I read. I don't want to give any spoilers, but do you think there are some Indian implications in that story as well? So I think you might be onto something definitely. How about you, Jameson?
I have too many quotes that I like, but the ones that are pertinent to the conversation is she says that real final girls only want the horror to be over. They don't stay up late praying to Craven and Carpenter to send an angel for the weekend or whatever. But then she explains it. She says, when Jason comes out of the water in mossy slow motion for Alice floating there in her safe canoe, roll the credits, music already queuing up. That's Friday's Carrie moment right there. And that's the stinger that would set the mold for the golden age of slashers. But what she says is, the way he comes up and he hugs her from behind, it's not because he means her violence or any harm. It's just that he's a little kid, god damn it. He's helpless and messed up little kid and he's fucking drowning and he's terrified. And he's holding on to whatever he can and he's scared and she's supposed to protect him and she's supposed to keep him safe.
I picked that quote too.
And it's funny, I also used to write papers about horror movies and Stephen King, and my teachers would just like, okay, if you can make me believe this is really literature, all right, challenge accepted. But I think that it speaks to what's going on inside of her. Like, she wants this to happen, but I think there's a part of her that wants it to happen to see if she's the final girl. But here's the thing. I don't know that I am a final girl like Laurie Strode or Sydney, but there's a whole genre of horror called the good for her horror, like Midsummer and Ready or Not. And that's the kind of final girl I am. Like, I'm not gonna hide in a closet from you. I'm gonna survive. I'm gonna get you back. Like, so I think that maybe because she hasn't mentioned any of those movies yet, and maybe this book is a little older than, I mean, that like good for her horror is pretty recent, and this book might predate that, but I loved that evolution of horror when we went from like, like the pure good final girl to, you know what, screw you, I'm gonna get revenge and everybody's gonna be entertained by it.
Yeah, there is quite a few though that come to mind to me for that. And I kind of feel like a little bit of Jamie Lee Curtis in Halloween. There's a little touch of that, like especially now like where it's starting to go. I'm getting this feeling of like revenge, in her. But yeah,
Most recent ones definitely the like first of all, I love her always and forever. Like, she was great.
incredible.
But like the most recent ones, yeah, she's definitely not. It's like, okay, I'm in control of this now.
Yeah, I love that empowerment. How about you, Erin? I know you're forming some really cool predictions and I love to hear them. And if you have any favorite quotes and if you think you would be a final girl supporting character or slasher.
Um, I feel like 17-year-old me, I don't even think that I would be a supporting character. I was so much of a wallflower that I didn't want any attention drawn to me at all. So I probably would have just like ran away and let everything happen. But, 36-year-old me now, especially with 2 children, I think I'm much more determined and I would definitely face it head on, and I'm, a survivor. I would take care of it. Um, but no, I don't really have any quotes. None that I can think of. And my theories, I kind of already mentioned them. I mean, now that you guys have said, like, brought up the things that I forgot about Rexall, I really kind of don't want him to redeem himself because he is pretty nasty. He's a gross person. Um, Even though they said he works in an elementary school and he has hidden cameras in an elementary school, like that is terrible. And he did say inappropriate things to a minor. So yeah, I'm not sure that I want him to redeem himself, but maybe he will. Who knows? Um, I don't know. I don't know if those are qualities that you can redeem yourself from. Anyway, I do feel like I still feel like Jade is going to be the final girl. We'll see. I feel like she's so determined to help Letha that she already knows it all. She already has it all, and she's stronger than she thinks she is. So I think it's going to be her. But I am also really curious. Everything that you guys said about that history teacher makes perfect sense, especially if, Letha is the final girl and she survives. It's her parents or her dad and her stepmom that are like leading the pack over there. So we'll
Mhm.
see. I guess that was definitely a good prediction and something that I'm interested in seeing what
Very, very
happens.
fascinating. I agree 100% with you. I love where that's going. I didn't even consider that. That was not even on my radar. But now that I had a feeling about it with him, but I didn't connect the dots. Like I knew I wanted to know more about him, but I didn't know why. I have a I have a lot. I have a lot of favorites. So one of them was the one that Jameson shared. And then another one, she's talking about the final girl, and she says Alice, the final girl from Friday the 13th, has sort of orange hair, doesn't she? And so she does. And so she talks about how she hates her hair in orange because she is Indian and she meant to go green and she went through this really cool thing, but then she flips it. But, like there's a way and a safe space in what she's creating with her obsession with the slashers. If she could continue to use that and flip it to her own good, she could get out of that suicide ideation and that like feeling of wanting to let go and just disappear and lose herself. And then of course she says that the 13th Friday the 13th is like the classic day, the holy day, the day that nobody can touch. And that of course was my wedding day, so that I 1000% agree. And then the final one that I chose was that she goes about first, and this goes without saying, final girls have the coolest names. Ripley, Sydney, Strode, Stretch, Connor, Crane, Cotton, even Julia James from I Know What You Did Last Summer has that double initial thing going on. That kind of gets your mouth addicted to saying her name. They're more than cool names, though. As you can tell with what they're called, they're also the last girl alive. So when she talks about this, I found it really curious that she does not use her regular name. She uses Jade, and so which is really cool name compared to her normal commonplace names. It made me think it's the only place where I was like, maybe she will be our final girl, maybe. She doesn't give off that yet, but I'm wondering if she'll become stronger as she goes. Okay, so my last well, there's 2 questions. Do you guys like the speed in which I've divided this book into 3 parts? Because it is such a challenging read, do we want to add on another week and make this go slower? So if you do, hit the little raise hand button and we'll slow down. If you want to continue at the speed where we would take the second half on next week, then you don't have to raise your hand. But if you do want to slow down, raise them up. And if you don't, you can put a little thing in the chat. Don't know how to raise your hand. Or you can just verbalize.
I guess as someone who didn't finish, I'm good to stay at this pace. I think that I definitely can easily catch up, and I feel like it's still a good enough pace, and I was able to like flip through and get some ideas of like what was happening, so I wasn't completely spoiled. Um, and I personally like take that risk if I don't finish it. I know that there's probably going to be a few spoilers.
That's okay. I just wanted to make sure you guys didn't want me to like pump the brake a little bit. Because once I got into it, and I did have to read a couple chapters a couple times, I was like, maybe I bit off more than we can chew. But now that I'm into it, I want it to go faster, but I just wanted to make sure you guys are okay with it. And then the last question I wanted to end things on, if you could pick an artist to illustrate this book, or a musician to play a soundtrack for it, like the theme song, you know how we refer to that noise, that like the slasher noise. Do you have a musician or a favorite artist that you would like to see with this book? And we'll start with Victoria.
Ooh, that's a really good question. That's a very good question. Immediately to mind comes Olivia Rodrigo, who her songs like start kind of like teen pop bubblegum, but by the end they're like you can tell there's like some deep-seated like stuff happening. And so that's who immediately like came to mind is like some Olivia Rodrigo songs where like I would think it was irreverent if I like were not tuning into it. But then when I listen, I'm like, oh my gosh, she is just she's eating and leaving no crumbs.
I love that. I love that. Okay. How about you, Stephanie? Do you have an artist or musician or both?
So I'm trying to think. Honestly, I think it's a tie between Picasso and Van Gogh because I think they could illustrate it the best because it's very twisted and you don't know what's coming next. So I think it'd be interesting. I can't really think of a band besides something metal like Metallica or something.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then we go to Uwe. How about you? Do you have a favorite artist that you think would be really cool, or a musician, or couple?
Definitely the Van Gogh. I like that. I agree with Stephanie there. I think Van Gogh would be awesome for this. Just because of all the light and the luminescence and how he portrays everything. Artist wise, I would go more instrumental and go possibly like Hans Zimmerman or
Ooh,
maybe more kiddie like Daniel Elfman.
ooh, I got
But
chills.
but yeah,
Yeah.
those would be my my picks for that.
Oh, I've loved your input. Thank you so much. And Kristen, do you no? Oh my goodness, we are just not vibing, are we? So you don't even the weirdness of it. You don't have like a weird like one that's really hard for me is but it's metal. It's like Ramastad is what it's called.
Oh yeah,
Something like that even.
something like that probably. And I was honestly, this is gonna sound really weird, but I'm gonna show you this. So this is not even this is a real artist, of course. But when you mentioned that, this is what I thought of as an artist. Do you see it?
Yeah, again. Oh, how cool.
That's the only. That's what I automatically thought of was something like that because that's like the vibes I'm getting from this book for whatever reason.
Very cool. Very, very cool. Jessica, how about you?
Um, I would say for like an artist, I would want to see like either Gory, or maybe Bosch,
Ooh.
because they already have such familiarity with the creepy and the offbeat. As far as scoring it, I mean, part of me is like, I want to just go like straight, like traditional, like John Carpenter. That's what we're doing. But then hearing some of the other suggestions, I was like, ooh, I could see like super like heavy German industrial, like Nightzerab, or horror industrial music like Bellhead. So I don't know. It could go so many ways. That's such a cool question.
Yeah, I agree. That's awesome. How about you, Jameson? I'm really curious.
I think music wise, like I get that like industrial metal vibe sort of. I don't know, maybe like if you take the words out of the Disturbed songs, um, I don't know, like that metal sound. Um, but artist wise, I keep thinking, and it might be like it might be me identifying with like, because I know there was a quote where she said, or her teacher said, no, she said it, that they're not selling their time and their work, they're selling the land, they're selling Proof Rock. So it might be me identifying with where I'm from and all of that, but for some reason, I just want to see Basquiat draw like the sketches and the like. I just want to see what he would do with that.
Very cool. Very cool. How about you, Erin?
I honestly have no idea. I feel terrible to say that, but I don't know. I basically only listen to country music, and I don't think a country music artist is going to narrate the story very well. So
I disagree.
we'll see.
If you listen to the lyrics, a lot of country music is way more disturbing than rock.
Yeah, yeah, I
The
suppose so.
sound, no, but the lyrics can get really kind of, over into the scary. So for me, the artist that I thought would be Munch, the one that made the Scream, the famous Scream photo, is like so creepy and so many little tiny things. The other one I thought of, and I don't know who the artist is, I'm sorry. But you know the people that are like kind of looks like Amityville Horror and they have like a pitchfork. It's very iconic, like standing in front of a barn. That one came to mind to me. And then the reason I asked you guys about music is because I started playlists for every book that we do, and save it over on my Spotify. So I was trying to like compose some of those, but the things that I put on there so far for me was Metallica's Nothing Else Matters, because nothing else matters to her other than this slasher stuff. And there's a lot of semblance underneath that about like being hopeless. And then Suicidal Dreams from Silverchair was another one that really hit me. So the thank you all so much for your input. I'm so eager to go forward now, and super curious as to what's going to happen. I divided it up. We'll be on page 246 is what we'll read to. Yeah, the chicks would be great. Uh-huh, uh-huh. That's Miranda Lambert, like gasoline, type of thing. They can get funky with it. Um, and then I want to wish you guys a happy holiday coming up and be safe. Enjoy the fireworks if you like them and take care of your fur babies. Is there any questions or concerns going forward that we haven't covered?
I was gonna say you can add Taylor Swift.
You
She's
could.
country a
The
little
poets
bit.
department. Yes. See, Erin? There's some darkness over there to delve
Yes, there
into.
is vigilante shit.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, and then I definitely encourage you guys to do, if you're really, really enjoying the book and you're ahead, to watch Scream 2 so that you can see Randy's rules like hers. So otherwise, you guys take care, have a good week, and I'll see you next Sunday.
Thanks.
Bye, everyone.